Welcome to Best Fictional Friends, a podcast about fictional characters but real feelings.
I'm your best friend that will watch Paranormal Activity with you, but can't promise not to cover my eyes the whole time, Sarah.
I'm your best friend who totally forgot what she was going to say during this segment, Casey.
And I'm your best friend who promises to delete your search history after your untimely demise, Brittany.
Oh,
You have the
that
best
was morbid.
ones.
You need a best friend to do that. I'm sorry. I have had
I didn't even think about that as something that needed to happen.
You are not living forward thinking, my friend. You are not thinking about your
Well, I'm
legacy.
dead, so what does it matter?
I play
Actually-
D&D. There is a
Fair.
lot of weird shit I have had to Google for D&D that does not look good.
Yeah, I learned that in my short time attempting to DM.
Yeah.
But you told me, just like you told me, just add 5E at the end of all
You
of
have
it, and
to.
it makes it so much better.
You're going to get so much less
Otherwise,
furry
I'm
art
on-
porn than you originally were getting.
What?
Oh, I thought that I was going to end up on like a lot of like FBI watch
Oh, no, that too. But I remember you guys had a werewolf encounter one time. I DM for Sarah and Casey because we're nerds. And it was a werewolf encounter, and everything I found was porn. Like, so much of it was weird werewolf porn that I had to, like, no, werewolf 5e.
Not to yuck any yums.
I mean, yeah, I mean, if that's your thing, but if it's not, like, how many kids are playing D&D and the first thing they're getting is like, oh God.
Yeah, a lot of kids play D&D.
But you need somebody, I mean, like, we've all been there where you've had a weird search history you just need to get rid of. So I'll be that friend for you. I'll do that for you. I'm happy. I'm happy
good
to
to
do
know.
it as long as you do it back.
Thank you.
If I
so
die
much.
first, death pact at this point.
So, Britt, why are we talking about deleting our search histories when we die? That seems really morbid. Does it have to do with today's topic?
It does have to do with today's topic. Today we're talking about our best dead friend.
Ooh.
For our definition, we got a definition up. Casey, you want to be our rules lawyer and let us know what's dead?
Yeah. This one is pretty simple. They're dead. We did make the caveat that we, as a friend, would have to be able to see and interact with them. And also, they cannot be in limbo. They have to be dead.
Got it. Yeah. So we're talking ghosts or undead of some kind.
Or specters.
I'd like to add that they have to be, it's not somebody that happens to die in some media.
Correct.
It is somebody who is dead and plays a part in, like, the story.
Yeah. So, like, not Bambi's mom. Can't be friends with Bambi's mom.
Right.
But something that
Not
is...
Moana's grandma.
Oh. No, that one kind of works. Moana's grandma, she comes back a little bit, right?
Yeah.
She's like
but
a
she's
spirit
just like
that, yeah, I think she would have been fine.
It would be
She
tough
would have
to-
been okay.
Argue because there's not a ton to pull
Right.
from, but for our case, it would technically work.
Right.
Okay.
So what kind of traits we looking for? What do you want in
Okay.
a best dead friend?
I had a hard time coming up with traits for a best dead friend, so I went with
Okay, yeah. Let's...
mostly just the regular traits of a best friend, but also maybe some bonus out of, like, the fact that they're, like, we're clearly in some type of mystical world where we are able to speak to
Right.
the dead,
Right.
like, in whatever story is allowing us to have a dead character. There's something added, so maybe just something fun there.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Something fun.
Something fun, and then otherwise best friend traits.
That's literally kind of what I have, is being dead enhances what they can bring to the friendship in some
Right.
way. But other than that, I just want, like, a good friend.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe somebody who is helpful in death. It's not just that they're like,
Well, I
Talking
think that's
at
just
me?
a different way of phrasing
Yeah.
what
Fun?
we were saying.
well, no, I mean more than
Or
just
what I
fun.
was saying.
Yeah. Maybe
What
fun
I was
not-
saying.
More than
Correct.
just
Like that-
fun. I want them to, like, be able to somewhat interact.
Mm-hmm.
Think more like
Well, that's
Patrick
part of the
Swayze
rules.
Ghost. He helps protect Demi more rather than just, like, mournfully watching.
Right.
And speaking of mournfully, like, I also want somebody who, while, yes, it's sad that you're dead and I'm going to be there for you to mourn that, I want you to be consolable. I don't want you to become an evil, vengeful spirit that now fixates on your death because I just don't know how to deal with that.
I don't have linger on your death.
Well, I mean, it's obviously upsetting, and I'm happy to be there for you for that. But it has to be something that eventually the character can move past, because if that's the entirety of your arc, that, oh, I'm dead, but I'm still dead, but I'm also dead. Like, yeah, but then you're never going to get to move on, right? There's never going to be find the light. There's never going to be the, whatever, the moving on phase, the crossing over. I don't want a stagnant friend, because I don't think I'm a stagnant person. I think it needs to be somebody who is capable of growth, even in death.
Growth personality, like as a person growth, or
obviously like some they're not going to get taller.
Well, I was thinking like aging, like for real. But
that would be a super weird trait to want in a friend.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't think of literally one person.
Emotional growth, some sort of
like Sarah. I'm not going to grow anymore. I'm going to age, but I'm not going to grow.
Well,
you might shrink.
That's a type of growth.
Is it?
Your skin grows.
Oh God.
It's wrinkles. No. Is that? I don't know.
That's not how wrinkles work.
I'm just
we'll
trying
talk about
to force me
offline.
into being right on this.
I don't think we measure people's age by skin either.
I just wanted to be not wrong, so I was trying so hard to come up with something that would make me...
We're trees, is what
not need to just completely retract what I said.
That's what the show is about, is arguing and debating to the end. Never admitting you're wrong.
I will show growth in this moment by admitting that I could have said basically everything better.
Talking's hard. Words are hard, man.
Words are hard. It's a good thing we started a podcast.
I know.
Right? I think this might be one of the first times that we're all pretty much on the same page with our traits in that regard, where we're just kind of looking for somebody who's in death, they grow and it enhances what they can bring to a friendship.
Yeah. And
also not so, I like the addition of not being drowned in that grief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Like I said, having sad moments is fine. Like, I mean, everyone has mental health, even in death, I assume, in this situation. You need to be there for your friend. But at the same time, if this is something that they are not able to get past, it might be out of our league. Like, it's out of my league, for sure. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be
Moaning Myrtle would not be a good friend.
Moaning Myrtle is not it. Honestly, I don't think she's a good friend.
But like Nearly Headless Nick, he's having fun. He's celebrating.
He gets sad too, where like he's sad his head is not completely gone. He can never join the headless hunt. But you can be there and listen to him, and he'll help you out and go to his death day party. Everybody loves that.
Yeah.
And now we can go ahead and check off Harry Potter reference.
Until we get to the champions, where we talk about Sorting Hats. Yep. Every episode, at least one unrelated Harry Potter reference. You heard it here. So, yeah, let's do our honorable mention of contenders of who did not quite make the cut for who we thought would be a good friend, but maybe not the best friend. Sarah, you want to start?
Sure. So I have another contender from the book, Kings of the Wyld.
All right.
I love it. So mine is, and actually I don't even know if this would have counted because I was doing more research like right before we started this, and I don't know if he was technically dead. So his name is Kit the Unkillable.
Okay.
And he is a revenant, so I think he was brought back to life, and I think that it's happened several times. It's been a bit since I've read it, but he is able to like do things that other people can't. He's also lived for an insanely long time, and it seems like he like literally can't be killed throughout it. Like he's called Kit the Unkillable for a reason. So in my head while I was reading, I assumed he was dead, but then in like reading other stuff, I think there might be something else going on that I just don't understand and that I need to reread in order to understand. But he's like always there for his friends and stuff, so that's cool. And then the other one I had was Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Of course.
Because you can't have this category and not mention that.
I mean, he gives up his chance at life to save the dad, right? I mean, that's pretty good friend.
Sweet. Yeah, he's a good friend. Shout out to Casper.
A boy.
But that was all I had for contenders for this one.
Oh, really? I've got a shit ton.
Really?
I
mean, such a hard time with this one.
You tend to no matter what the category, so.
I like can't get my brain to think about all the
lot
things
of TV and movies
before.
and video games and books.
So I could have probably listed a whole lot more because I do watch a lot of vampire-related content, but we'll go with, I want to just mention my champion from last episode, Liv Moore. I didn't choose her again for obvious reasons because, I argued her last week or last episode, but also I just think that my contender, the death aspect and being enhanced by the death part as opposed to the zombieism is what put my actual champion over the top of Liv for this one. But then Rebecca from Vampire Diaries and the original, but towards the end of her main arc on that show. And Death from The Book Thief. I'm not technically sure if that counts because he is Death. He is not dead. Right. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
if you've never been alive, can you be dead? I don't know.
Right. But it is one of my favorite narrators of any book I've ever read. And the way he handles the main character in that book. They end up meeting as friends when she does die, and he does watch out for her, and he does have this reverence for her. It's a very one-sided friendship, so obviously did not pick him.
Is it a very Meet Joe Black type of situation?
Don't remember enough about Meet Joe Black.
Oh, okay. Well, he's Death and falls in love with a girl.
Oh, no.
Okay.
That would be super weird because the main character in The Book Thief is like 8.
Oh. No.
Yeah, when they first meet, because it's during World War II and the Holocaust, so Death is there a lot around her.
Got it.
So he sees a lot of her life because there's a lot of death in her life.
Aw.
Yeah.
I've got Shoeless Joe Jackson from Field of Dreams. I think Field of Dreams a lot about dead people coming to this field to play baseball. Pretty decent friend. The Sixth Sense, huge spoiler. If you've never seen The Sixth Sense, if you haven't by now, I don't know where you've lived, but Dr. Malcolm, Bruce Willis, he's a great friend. He's just helping out this little kid for no reason. No one's paying him. He's dead. He's not getting paychecks anymore.
That is a good one.
The kids in Coraline who tell Coraline, hey, by the way, the Bedlam, the other mother is going to super murder you or super gonna, she's gonna get bored of you, lock you in this room, and you're gonna die and be one of us. Virgil from Dante's Inferno literally walks Dante through all of hell just to show him what it's like. I think that's pretty nice of him. I don't think I would volunteer for that role. But Virgil is pretty sweet, and he explains it all, shows him everything. In Final Fantasy X, more spoilers, Orin, he's the mentor, older kind of guy, I guess, in that game. Spoilers, he's dead, and he comes back to try to protect his best friend's children, and those are the main characters. Roku in Avatar: The Last Airbender. He is, I think, a pretty good friend in that he was a great friend in life. He didn't want to kill his best friend, even though his best friend probably needed killing. And he helps grow Aang and helps guide Aang through his own journey of accepting his destiny. Jason Mendoza from The Good Place, I think, is hysterical. I don't think
Oh, that's right. We did talk about The Good Place, but we did say that they were...
We said that they were okay because they die, come back, die again.
Right.
I just couldn't decide which one of The Good Place people I would
I think you're right about Jason. I think he would have been the best friend out of them. Crazy enough.
I think Kristen Bell's character, Eleanor, becomes the best friend.
Yeah.
But I think from the start, she's the worst friend. From the very beginning.
Oh.
She becomes probably the most caring and the most kind of together and is able to have the plan. But I think that from the get-go, Jason Mendoza is always the most supportive, always the one most willing to listen.
I mean, he's literally ride or die.
He is 100% ride or die. He just doesn't really have the mental capacity to always help you in every situation. He
or any situation.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta light a Molotov cocktail and boom, you got a new problem.
Or Bortles.
Yeah, Bortles.
Duval.
Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi from Star Wars. They come back as Force
I did
ghosts.
think about both of those options.
Guide you.
But Star Wars.
And then some show that I've recently started watching and finished that I've already told Sarah and Casey about, Mystic Pop-Up Bar, Korean drama on Netflix. Like, half the people on that are dead, but all of the main characters are just really great people, and I would be happy to be friends with any of them. So those are my entire giant list of people I thought of recently.
I had the hardest time with this one.
Oh, and I got I was thinking music too. Certain songs. The Decemberists have a shit ton of songs about dead people and ghosts that come back to help you. I could list off of that too, or like, yeah, that ghost in that one song was pretty cool. Like, that one also told me about how he died, at least in the Civil War, so I don't have to mourn his, like, I don't have to worry about why he never came home. I know he died. He told me about it. He's a ghost. I know these children that saved my lover who got kidnapped by this evil guy. He killed his children. His children came back and they killed him. There's a lot of ghosts and songs. I will also put together a ghost playlist for at least the two of you to let you know of all of my song ghosts.
I am so curious now.
Yeah, so we got our honorable mentions. We got our contenders out of the way. Who are our champions? Who are the best dead friends? Who wants to start?
Dun 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 dun.
I'll start us off.
Get it.
So I had to go back to Pixar for this one. And my choice is Hector Rivera from the movie Coco. So I'd like to say that there's going to be spoilers for literally the entire movie on this one. Like,
yeah, you can't.
There's nothing that won't be left on the table after this. So if you're still thinking about seeing Coco and you haven't, like, it's so good. It's so good. Okay. Let's do this.
I listened to an entire podcast dedicated to Coco before I ever watched Coco, and I still sob every time I watch Coco.
It is very good.
You want to know what?
It's so good that it's a movie you can, like, both sad cry and happy cry to, like, late. Like, it's got both those moments and, like, oh, so good.
I fucking lose it. I just fucking lose it at the end.
Yeah, so basically super brief rundown of Hector's very long backstory. But Hector left his wife, Esmelda, and his daughter, Coco, name of the movie, to become a musician with his best friend, Ernesto de la Cruz. And Hector basically, like, wrote the music for them, but they both, like, performed it. And then later Hector has, like, a change of heart, wants to go back to his family. But his partner, de la Cruz, knowing that he needs Hector's songs in order to, like, succeed, he ends up poisoning Hector, just killing him, and stealing his songs for himself. And then later, Hector's great-great-grandson, Miguel, winds up in the land of the dead as a living person. And then throughout the movie, Hector is helping Miguel get back to the land of the living in the hopes that Miguel is going to put Hector's picture back on the family ofrenda, which would allow Hector to visit on the Day of the Dead to see his daughter, Coco.
Imelda. I want nothing to do with you. Not in life, not in death. I spent decades protecting my family from your mistakes. He spends 5 minutes with you and I have to fish him out of a sinkhole.
I wasn't in there because of Hector. He was in there because of me. He was just trying to get me home. I didn't want to listen, but he was right. Nothing is more important than family.
It's a lot. There's so much more than that. But I think the best rundown I can give. As far as, like, Myers-Briggs, I went with ESFP, which is, I think, considered, like, the entertainer, spontaneous, energetic, enthusiastic. I like that it was called the entertainer because, like, he literally played music for people. And he's a very energetic person, I would say. Or not person. Dead person.
Spirit.
Yeah, spirit. I don't know. Yeah, I guess spirit would probably be the best thing to call them. They look like skeletons, but spirits sounds better. And then sorting hat, I thought maybe Gryffindor.
Yeah?
Because he is pretty brave. He does do a bit of cross-dressing as Frida Kahlo, trying to get back into the land of the living. He's not afraid to talk to the authority figures and try to convince his way into getting back to see his daughter. So I think he does show a good deal of bravery. D&D alignment, maybe neutral good. I don't think he's really lawful because he's trying to break the rules for most of it. But I don't think he's really chaotic either. Like, he's not that spontaneous.
Right.
And then astrology, I was able to find out his birthday, which I don't remember from the movie, even though I just watched it again. But he was born on November 20th. I didn't write it down.
I wonder if
but
it's
it was
on a
Sagittarius.
gravestone or something.
Maybe. Yeah, it was like 1900.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, he was actually 21 years old when he died, which I didn't realize.
Well, Coco was a baby, too. Coco was little, right?
Yeah, so Melda and Hector got married at 18 and had their baby the same year. I don't know how people know these things on, like, wiki pages, but it sounded very confident in the way that it told me that information. Yeah, just in general, he's like, very funny. He's great, like, comedic relief, but also he's, like, lives in this beautiful world. Like, the Land of the Dead is just, like, a gorgeous world. They did such a good job with this movie. And he's, at first, like, his motives with helping Miguel are more selfish, trying to get himself back into the world so that he can see his daughter. So like, it's
understandable.
Right. But then later when he realizes that Miguel is his great-great-grandson, then he's just trying to help Miguel, and it becomes more about him and less about Hector himself. So pretty good guy overall. Not great in life because he left his family to do music, but in death,
he planned on coming back, maybe.
I mean, in life, at 21, though, I know that it was a different time, and we had to, like, put ourselves, different time, different place, we have to put ourselves in that headspace, but also at 21, like, culturally, all of that, but at 21, you're just getting started, so it's hard, since he died at 21, to really judge him as a person. I don't want to be judged up until what I did when I was 21. I want everything to be factored in, and unfortunately, everything for Hector is up till 21, so I'm just defending the living Hector right now. We could get into the dead Hector later,
but
I just don't want to say, like, he would be...
Anyway,
yeah.
for this episode.
Debate,
yeah, absolutely.
We're good. And he's good friends with the other people that aren't able to visit their family on the Day of the Dead. They call them, like, the Forgotten. And he's really nice to all of them. I know. So sad. But yeah, I think he'd be a pretty cool friend.
Cool.
Who wants to go next?
I could jump in. My pick is Ben Hargraves from the Umbrella Academy in his dead state. Just an FYI, if you have not watched season 2, what are you doing? But also, spoilers ahead. If you don't know, the premise of Umbrella Academy is that 43 infants are inexplicably born to random, unconnected women who show no signs of pregnancy the day before. And then an eccentric billionaire tries to purchase all of them, but purchased 7 of them. Ben is one of those 7. He dies prior to the start of the series, but lucky for us, Klaus, another one of the 7, is able to communicate with dead people. So in this case of our friendship, I would be in Klaus's role, able to interact, engage, but just with less drug use.
Don't put yourself off short.
I don't know. I can't judge. I was about to say, Klaus is going through some shit because he sees dead people constantly, so who knows? Ben provides Klaus with company during some of his most harrowing times. He could also manifest when wanted and join some battles in season 2. His superpower, so to speak, when he was alive and kind of in death too, is his stomach is a portal to summon and control eldritch tentacle creatures, which is just fucking wild.
Bringing in more D&D into this.
Yeah, I'm impressed with your ability to explain what the hell that is, because while watching I was like, I don't know, tentacle monster.
Yeah, was not my term. I found that on the interwebs. At one point, he has a giant, what looks like an octopus. This is how I described it. A giant octopus come out of his stomach, and it's very graphic and icky. But in flashbacks, Ben is shown to be a shy, quiet kid who loves to read and really doesn't want to participate in battles, which I could definitely respect, as given, like, the power his tummy wields. Myers-Briggs, he is ITSP, or the Virtuosa, which sounds strange. Like, the Virtuoso sounds a little bit dramatic for such like a quiet character, but they tend to have an individualistic mindset, pursuing goals without needing much external connection, which makes sense for him given that his only real connection externally is Klaus. The Sorting Hat, he probably would have been one of the Ravenclaw ghosts He could hang out with the Gray Lady and cheer her up a bit with his wit and his kindness, and maybe make her less likely to help certain cunning, attractive young men. D&D alignment, I would say chaotic good, maybe. He's not overly chaotic in a way that can shift a timeline, per se, but there is some chaos in how he deals with Klaus but it could just be tough love.
No way to change? That's the real torture, if you gotta know. Watching your brother take for granted everything you lost and pissing it all away.
So somewhere between chaotic good and neutral good. He's definitely not, I wouldn't say he was lawful, per se, but also, he doesn't necessarily have to follow laws because he's already dead.
Who's going to arrest him, right? Yeah, there's no spirit detectives in this world.
Right.
It's like an anime at that point.
Right,
yeah,
no.
only in Coco's world.
With astrology, I'm just going to ignore astrology for this one because the circumstances surrounding his birth and the fact that him and his siblings were all born on the same day. I just thought that...
Were they Libra? I'm trying to remember. What was the...
October 1st, yeah.
Nailed it.
Mm-hmm. So they would be Libra, but I just didn't really think that was something to focus on given the fact that there's 43 of them, and I'm assuming they're all wildly different. And so the traits that make him a best friend, for a specter that is entirely dependent on another person to exist, he has a surprising amount of his own agency, which I definitely want in a friend that is otherwise fully dependent on you. He is there with all the compassion in the world. He is always there for Klaus, supporting him and helping him make the right decisions. But he also steps up with the tough love. He steps up with the tough love at times where Klaus needs to be better and do better. At one point, Klaus is checking up in a weird timeline glitch. He is in the same town as the man he loves before his love is murdered. And Ben is very concerned about that. And about Klaus not wanting Klaus to hurt himself in all of this and making sure that Klaus can handle this. But in the same token, he goes in with Klaus and he watches and he gives him, like those brotherly jabs throughout. So he's both very compassionate and there with the tough love. He literally carries Klaus. He's always down for some shenanigans, which I love. And the fact that, he's dead and he can help with these shenanigans, like lifting up Klaus at one point to help convince future cult members that Klaus can levitate. And he helps Raymond Chestnut, Allison, one of the other Seven's husbands, get out of jail by scaring officers by using the typewriter as a ghost. And this is a major spoiler, so skip ahead 30 seconds. Brittany, are you done with
I finished
season?
it. Yeah, I finished it in
right,
preparation
cool.
of this. So.
All right. Well, I'm glad because otherwise I was about to spoil a whole thing for you. He sacrifices himself for all of his siblings and the world at the end of season 2. And it's really quite sweet and dramatic. And you see him becoming fully realized as achieving something in death that he could never have achieved in life. And in doing so, you see him pass on. And I think that kind of hits on our point of they need to be able to grow as a person despite being dead. Mm-hmm. And I think he definitely fits in that mold. And I just really think that Ben is somebody that you want to have on your side for sure. And he would make an excellent best friend. There are some wildly funny scenes of him and Klaus fist fighting on the side of the road where it just looks like Klaus is spanking his own ass. But it's, he's the kind of person that can get truly under your skin. Truly. I didn't mean it in quite the literal way that Ben does get under Klaus's skin at one point. But he really just wants what's best for his siblings and others. So, all right, Brittany, you're up.
All right. So I chose Lady Urbosa, Chief of the Gerudo, in the game Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. She's also going to be featured, I'm sure, in the upcoming game Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. And there's going to be a sequel to Breath of the Wild, which release date is to be determined, but I am 110% hyped for. I am super excited. Lady Urbosa is voiced by the English voice actress Elizabeth Maxwell. I guess her Japanese voice actress is Rei Shimoda, but I played the game in English, so I can't tell you if Rei Shimoda is any good. I'm sure she's fine. But Lady Urbosa is the chief of the Gerudo people, who are a desert-dwelling people. Urbosa is the chosen champion of the Gerudo and has been chosen to pilot a giant mechanical weapon known as the Divine Beasts. Specifically, hers is Va Naboris, which is like this big camel-looking mecha, almost. So in the land of Hyrule, in the setting of Legend of Zelda, history shows time and time again that there is a reincarnation cycle where an evil being known as Ganon appears throughout time trying to destroy and or conquer the world. I mean, like, as is wont, we understand. Evil just keeps coming back sometimes. There's always a Princess Zelda who is of the royal lineage from goddess Hylia. So she has the chosen blood of the goddess. And then there's always the hero, which is often known as Link. Yada, yada, blah, 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 blah. So general premise of this game is Ganon gives up his ability at reincarnation to go all out and become Calamity Ganon. So he has given up his ability to reincarnate, and he is going to destroy everything, all costs. 10,000 years ago, he did something similar. Champions were chosen, and the princess at the time, as well as a chosen hero, sealed him away. Now, 10,000 years later, he does it again. And all of the champions go to their divine beast to fight him. But unfortunately, since this was kind of the tactic that they used 10,000 years ago, Ganon anticipates it, sends monsters to possess the divine beasts, and is ultimately able to capture them, control them, and then kill them. So everyone who was in the divine beast is killed, including our sweet Lady Urbosa in Va Naboris. So her spirit is entrapped inside this camel thing that's kind of rampaging over the Gerudo Desert for 100 years, until she's hoping that Link, resurrected, is able to come and save her, who you are in the game. So fun, lots of backstory, lots of lore, really hard to get into. Reincarnation cycle is super debated on whether everyone's actually reincarnated, or if they're just chosen, or if there's some sort of spirit thing, more like Avatar. But I guess that doesn't matter, because we're talking about Urbosa, who's amazing. So if we want to get into Myers-Briggs, Urbosa, I was thinking, was ENTJ, known as the commander. She's very energetic, confident, super strong-willed, extremely charismatic and inspiring as the leader of her people. She was not only the leader of her people, she was then also chosen to pilot this mecha to fight against the ultimate evil of this world, which is Ganon. Astrological sign, she doesn't have a birthday. I actually have no idea if there are dates the same way in Hyrule. Who can say how that actually goes? If I had to guess something based off traits, I would say Sagittarius. It's a fire sign. So natural storytellers, comedians, magnetic people. 100 years after her death, she is still renowned. People still look up to her, even though she's been dead for ages, and there's new leaders now. She is adventurous, somewhat spiritual, very insightful. She's blunt, but flexible. She's going to tell you exactly what she thinks about a situation, but she's going to be kind of kind while she does it, and she's ready to kind of go with the flow depending on what's happening. We're going to Harry Potter sorting hat. She's got to be Gryffindor. I think bravery is her defining trait, if we're going to say, of the four houses. D&D alignment, lawful good. She is the leader of her people, so she's got to obey the law. She's looking out for her people. She's looking out for the people of Hyrule. As well as, specifically, I was kind of taking Princess Zelda as an example of her friendship. Princess Zelda in the game is having a very rough time because most princesses are able to access what's known as the sealing power. It's a mystical power of connecting to her goddess, inner spirit, whatever power. The Princess Zelda in Breath of the Wild is not able to do it. So it is something that there are signs that Ganon is coming, that there is calamity on the horizon. She is not able to access any of the spiritual power, and everyone is terrified. Her father keeps putting absurd pressure on her, although no one can tell her how to do it because her mother died when she was little. So the only person who would have been able to teach her died 10 years ago. Urbosa knew her mother and knows the struggle and makes a point of kind of like, no, let's give her some space. We know that she needs help with this. She needs some understanding as she's being kind of rude to Link, but that's because Link has realized his destiny. He has been able to grab the Master Sword, which is the weapon of the hero, to seal the darkness away, where Zelda hasn't been able to do any of it.
So, spill it, boy. Have the two of you been getting along all right? It's okay, I know. Your silence speaks volumes. She gets frustrated every time she looks up and sees you carrying that sword on your back. It makes her feel like a failure when it comes to her own destiny. Don't worry, it's not like you carry blame in any of this. It's unfortunate. She's put in more than enough time. Ever since she was a young girl, she's gone through rigorous daily routines to show her dedication. She once passed out in the freezing waters trying to access this sealing power. And she has nothing to show for it. That's the motivation driving her research. I'd be doing the same thing. She really is quite special.
She desperately wants to, and she sees all of her friends and family around her, or not family, I guess, but adopted family, around her be able to embrace their destiny, and she has not been able to access that. And Urbosa is the most understanding of everyone. She keeps reminding people, like, no, she doesn't hate Link, she's jealous of Link. She's not trying to be cold to him, it's just she's having a hard time reconciling her own feelings. That's why she's kind of being mean to Link, but it's because Link is a representation of everything she can accomplish. Urbosa is really adventurous. She saves Zelda at one point, who's being attacked by their assassins in the game. That they're called the Yiga clan. Urbosa fights them off. She's super insightful, very compassionate, super encouraging. She's very caring. She's obviously responsible if you're going to be the leader of your entire people and pilot the giant mecha that's going to defeat Ganon. She still knows how to have fun. Zelda's asleep at one point. She's talking with Link, telling Link pretty much what I just said. Like, she's not mad at you. She's just jealous. She's just having a really hard time. Her mother died when she was little, and she has so much pressure on her. But since Zelda's asleep, she's like, well, we gotta bring her inside. So she snaps her fingers and makes lightning call down. She has that unique ability where she can call lightning with the snap of her fingers, which I think is very useful, at least in the game. And it wakes Zelda up, and they all laugh, like, ha ha ha, like. And even in death, after she dies, she's still super encouraging. Link comes to take back Von Naboris and defeat the evil that has possessed it so that Urbosa's spirit can be freed. She's still telling Link exactly what he needs to do inside her mecha. Like, you have to go to this place. Okay, you need to release these many things. Now that you have, the enemy you're going to fight is very fast and it killed me. So I'm going to tell you what he kind of does. So be on the lookout for that. Don't die. That would be helpful. And then after, spoilers, if you're good at the game, I guess, you defeat the monster that killed her. She gives you her ability to snap her fingers and make lightning come down, which is pretty useful in the game. It's maybe not the most useful thing, but the people who give you kind of the more useful things are jerks. So I'm looking at you, Rivali, you're the worst. But I think in death, she's super useful. In life, she's encouraging even after death. She's upset that she died, obviously, because she couldn't protect her people, but now she's ready to, she's ready to finish her destiny, finish her fate, and defeat evil to save the world. Debate.
I don't understand a lot of what you just said, to be fair, but I think Urbosa sounds like an excellent leader and maybe not the greatest person that would to be a friend of. A good person to be like a member of her like constituency and somebody that she wants to defend, but it sounds like there would be a lot of responsibility being her friend and that it might not be as one-on-one. Last week we spoke about like, can we just sit down and relax a little bit? And that seems like with Urbosa, that because her time is so valuable, every time you were with her, it would have to be discussing and working on something major. And that just sounds like an exhausting friendship to be in.
Maybe she has more like valuable friends that can do more things, like Link and Zelda. And like, so why is she spending her time with me? We don't know.
Right.
Like,
even if you are Link or Zelda,
well, in this case, we're also Klaus, if we're going to say that. So we are obviously the heroes of this story, right?
Right, but I'm saying if you are Link or Zelda, I'm going to give you that. Okay. You are Link or Zelda, and you're important enough to have her time. Like, every time still you have her time, there's going to be something that needs to get done. There's going to be a call to action. And obviously that is part of, I'm assuming, the nature of the game. But because that is what we're going based off of, every interaction is going to lead to a battle or a quest. And sometimes you just want, like, a night with your friends to lead to, like, wine or a movie or games.
Yeah, are there any cutscenes, or is she just
going home
wine?
And sleeping?
They definitely have wine in the Gerudo Desert, because there is one character who's just a lush that is constantly drunk. That is an NPC side character that you have to bring ice, because she needs ice for her drink. So, like, there is a cutscene where Zelda's, like, asleep on her lap after they had been talking, where she's just hanging out with Zelda. Zelda had come to Urbosa to ask her to be the champion. But
then she forcibly wakes Zelda up.
Because they gotta bring her to bed. They're sleeping in, like, a tower. You gonna leave her all night to sleep in that tower? That's a bad friend. If a good friend would bring you to your bed.
I'm not gonna wake my friend up with a bolt of lightning.
I mean, you could just shake her awake. I saw it as a playful prank, because you have to wake up. I'm not going to kind of, infantile you by carrying you back. You're a grown person.
Not saying carrying her back, but just being like, hey, bud, come on.
Everyone thinks it's funny. They have a big laugh. I think it's fine. I don't know. I think being able to be comfortable enough to pull pranks on your friends, if you have such a serious relationship, you can't do that. I guess that's
pull pranks on your friends, but do not wake me up with the same sound of a battle. If I am somebody who has been in battle and has seen battle, and this is something that is a sign of you being in battle or being attacked.
Zelda's not, though, for the most part. Zelda's the princess. She does not see battle very often.
But hearing that means that somebody typically is in battle.
No, it just
that
means
is a form
lightning.
of.
How often do you hear lightning and you think, like, oh god, it's a war happening?
If Urbosa was my friend and one of her main weapons was being able to cast lightning upon someone.
That's not even her main weapon. She uses her sword and shield way more. It's that she has the ability to also do this. That's kind of like her cool power that she also can do. Otherwise, she's just a really kick-ass fighter.
Still part of, the fact that, like, this is her power. This is something that you would associate with her being a protector and her fighting. And having that be what woke me up would be a lot more jarring than, like, water being poured on my head. Like, you want to, like, make it rain on me. Whatever.
See,
like, that's a funny haha prank. Not waking up like...
Now that's a lasting thing you've done to me, and now I'm wet.
I think I get that it was, like, meant to be a playful thing. I'm okay with it. I don't know if I'm okay with Urbosa in total as being, like, a good best friend. I'm not sold on that.
Okay.
But I'm okay in this instance.
The prank itself is not the issue. It is that is the only time we have an example of them relaxing, and it ends with a bolt of lightning.
Well, no, there's the time earlier where they're walking around the desert. They are, unfortunately, like, she does recognize that there are kind of like assassins that are watching them. They weren't going to attack until Urbosa called them out, but kind of better to, I guess, like, hey, by the way, like...
She did look super badass doing that, though.
She's pretty badass. She's able to protect Zelda real easy. Yeah. Like, Zelda doesn't even have to do anything.
I would want her to be my protector. I'm not saying that I think she is a bad character or not a badass. I'm just saying that, like, as a best friend, it feels like it would be an incredibly stressful friendship.
Her as a friend.
I think, too, she's a little bit...
I want her on my side.
She's with Zelda's mother. Mm-hmm. So she is a little bit, she's somewhere in between a friend and a surrogate mom. So she's a little bit in between where she is motherly. She is looking out for Zelda. She, like I said, there's multiple times where she specifically, like, Zelda's kind of being a jerk, or at least being really down and mopey, and everybody It's like, yikes. So she's trying to get everybody to understand and relate better to Zelda, who has a hard time relating to other people.
I do like how understanding she is.
I mean, I think she's a very understanding person. I just don't necessarily think that out of our 3 options, she is not the one that I would go for.
Obviously. You want to...
Well, I mean, no, it's not obvious because I didn't know she existed until a few days ago. So I could have very easily been convinced, like, oh, this would have been a much better, like, this would have been a great friend. I just didn't know she existed. It's like when you introduce somebody else to a new person.
True.
How could I have been their friend before I knew them? Even after learning about her, I still, upon reflection, would not go back and be like, oh, yeah, like, I think some of your contenders were better options to me than this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then, I mean, I could go on and on about how I think everyone in the Umbrella Academy is a bad friend, but...
I think everybody in the Umbrella Academy other than Ben would be a terrible friend.
No, see, I don't think Ben's a great friend either. I think he's probably the best of them. Maybe Allison can sometimes be a good friend. I think she's sometimes a good friend of Vanya. I kind of think everyone else... I guess I like the Umbrella Academy in general. I'm just not crazy for it.
Okay.
Like, in that most of their redeeming qualities do not make me not forget about their bad qualities, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I think in the second season, Diego is probably the most compelling
It's a show based
person.
on dysfunction.
No, I know, which doesn't always mean that they're great friends.
Oh, no, I like I said, I agree that most of them would not be good friends, but I think Ben is the exception that proves the rule, at least in death, because he's...
I guess it's hard because he's so overshadowed by how shitty Klaus is also to him, that I can only see him in reaction to somebody who's being really shitty to you. And he's often shitty
that's
back.
Fair.
So it's... Like, there's obviously a playful relationship.
I don't think he's shitty back to Klaus.
Klaus at one point is playing poker and is using Ben to, like, help him win so that they can get out of there. Like, we need money, we need a car, we need to get out of here. And then Ben just straight up lies. Like, oh, he's got nothing, don't worry about it. And then...
Well, we're going to go back to your pranks.
I mean, pranks at... that point is now, somebody woke up when they were asleep because we have to bring you to bed, as opposed to, you're going to get your ass handed to you by a bunch of rednecks here in Texas, and then you have to steal a car. Some of these pranks are more dangerous than the other pranks. I mean, I'm not saying that is the end-all be-all. I just think that because he's contrasted with Klaus, a lot of people are going to look real good next to Klaus.
I think that Ben, in doing that, was letting Klaus stand on his own 2 feet and forcing him to do so. But I also think there was some anger there because Klaus didn't tell him why they were leaving San Francisco. He just took him from San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And I think he was angry and had a right to be angry. And like I said, he had his own autonomy, and he does not do everything based on the whims of a very, very chaotic individual.
Oh, true.
He is not an enabler, which I think is a huge thing if you are friends with an addict.
True. Is
finding that fine line between being compassionate and not enabling, and also showing tough love. I think that also has to be a very frustrating thing to see your friend have all the success and have something that they were working towards and just drop it and leave. And I'm assuming that Ben wasn't always super down for, like, the building of the cult, but... you know, he helped by holding Klaus up, and he saw it as a way of keeping Klaus sober, and to an extent, so he wasn't going to OD. Yeah. You know, he kept him...
I don't know, I feel like helping your friend build a cult is a little enabling. Whether it's not addiction enabling, it's definitely enabling a narcissistic personality, but...
I mean, I still think that Klaus without Ben would be a much worse person.
Oh, no, I agree. Yeah. I just don't know if...
And I think that...
I just think they're all bad people.
I disagree with Ben being a bad person.
I don't think Ben had enough time being alive and getting to do his own thing. He only exists because of Klaus at this point, right? Klaus is the only one who's been able to contact him and keep him as a spiritual ghost form, spirit. I don't know what do they.
Well, part of that is also Ben's choice, because there are times that Klaus tries to make him visible and he's like, no, I'm good. So that is partially his own choice and his own decision making. But I mean, I see what you're saying. I totally understand. I just think that I would prefer to be friends with Ben and to be friends with a super warrior who is going to start fights with assassins who are just like chilling at the time.
I mean, they weren't just chilling. They were canvassing to attack, but
I have no reason to believe that other than Urbosa attacking them.
Context of the game is that they will attack you.
But like I said, I have no context for that other than what I saw in the cutscene of Urbosa attacking them.
Yeah, but I'm trying to fill you, and I was going to make you sit and play a 300-hour game or something, like, before we had this debate. I did you the courtesy of watching the entire second season, because otherwise Ben doesn't have a lot of screen time. Ben's very relegated to sidekick role more than anything. There's the one scene towards the end before he sacrifices himself that he talks to kind of like this crush he has that I think kind of gives him more development than anything. But at the same time, I feel like he's just a very tragic character more than me knowing what he's kind of into. As a friend, I don't know, as not being an addict who's trying to set cults up, I have no idea how he would react. Or, like, how we would be friends other than that. Because that's the only context I've ever seen him in.
I personally think he would be a better person because he would have somebody who was stable to interact with and engage with. And he wouldn't constantly feel the chaos of Klaus's life was impacting the way that he existed. I think he would probably be more open to revealing himself if he trusted that the person who it was in control of his existence was a more stable individual and was not only going to use him for nefarious means or to play tricks or to scare people. So I think he would probably be a more well-rounded friend and a much better person than what we're seeing.
So he's going to be a little clingy, you know? He's going to be just all over you all the time because otherwise he doesn't exist.
That was the whole thing about him not having his own autonomy. He does want to have his own thing.
He wants to, but he can't.
That's not his fault.
I know it's not his fault, but I'm just saying that's now, like, everyone has their own trauma. Like, is it fair that now that has to be pushed on me? That I have to now, like, you can only exist when you're here, but maybe I want alone time. You know, like, he's got to sit there and watch every time Klaus is, like, sexing somebody or something, right?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. Though
that's good because that's wild. It's horrifying.
That's just a flawed argument because there's a part where he's talking to his crush that he finds out that Klaus slept with her and he had no idea.
I thought he did. I thought it was that she didn't really. She's like, no, I haven't had sex with. Like, we have had sex before, and he's like, no, I was talking about. I'm not Klaus. I'm somebody else. Like, we haven't had sex. Like, no, we did. We did last week. I mean, I guess I interpreted that scene differently. I'll have to watch that scene again then, but...
Yeah, I mean, you might be right, but to me, I took it as, like, there are times that Ben is existing in the... Because Ben isn't forced to only notice what Klaus notices.
No, right.
So Ben is existing when Klaus is present, but doesn't have to be existing where Klaus is.
Okay.
Yeah, I did think about it that way as well.
Yeah, Ben can be in the house if Klaus is in the house, but Ben can be listening to somebody read a book. My one thing with Hector...
Come at me.
And...
Bring it.
I mean, this is a very small thing. If you are alive, you can only interact with him one day a year. And that makes it for a tough friendship. That's all.
So in talking about this, we're like, when we were saying, like, I assume that we would be able to interact. So I don't know if that in this world makes you also a dead person. Or if it makes you an alive person and Day of the Dead. Or if we're just like that overriding that and like, you get to like interact with this person.
You can be friends with somebody one day a year. It's just now it's only one day a year.
I'm just saying, it makes for a tough friendship.
Yeah, and I don't know what angle I would want to go with it. Because obviously, like, I don't want to be dead. But also, the Land of the Dead seems pretty chill. Like, seems like a lot of fun. And... I wouldn't mind kicking it with Hector there. He's got an in with a lot of artsy people, and that's fun. Especially now, like after the movie's over, he's got more of an in with them. once he's like seen as actually the writer of the songs that he wrote and everything, and it's not all Ernesto anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that like for my purposes, for like just fun with a friend, I would prefer to be like among the land of the dead. And I don't know if that shoots my argument, but I think that in this situation would be what I'd prefer to argue.
I was super annoyed when I was watching the movie because I definitely realized, I'm going to tip my hand a little bit here, I definitely realized that Hector was the best option. I was trying to find flaws, and the main flaw is the 1 day a year.
Yeah. Like, even at the beginning, even though he is, like, working with Miguel, like, to kind of, for his own purposes, it's still just because he wants to see his daughter again. Like, he wanted to in life. He tried to get back to her. You know that he tried to talk to Esmeralda once she died, like, in the land of the dead, and that didn't work out. It's nice to know that, like, he wasn't pushing it, like, every day. You don't get, like, that impression. It sounds like he tried, but he wasn't
gave her
banging
space
down her door, all the time.
He accepted it
and was trying to find his own way to see his daughter again. And I think that, in general, he's a pretty noble character. He knows how to play music, and we know from last episode that is apparently something that's important to me. Yeah, he can put on a good show.
I gotta say, it's very dreamy when someone can play music, you know?
He's bilingual.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm ready to vote.
All right.
Okay, you guys go first, because I think I'm going to be the deciding factor.
I'm going to go with Hector.
Me too.
Oh, yeah, me three. All right, cool.
Okay, unanimous. We have a unanimous Hector.
Sarah's so cute. She's so happy.
I understand that Urbosa is going to be too hard to pull people on board if you haven't played the game.
I understand, like, Ben, your points about Ben are all valid. I don't necessarily think they would make him a bad friend, but just not the best of the three.
Yeah.
I think of the best friends, it's clearly Hector.
Right. No, I agree. Obviously,
he saves Miguel from the land of the dead.
I know. And then the performance that they do.
I know.
My gosh. Poco Loco. So cute.
Hard fucking cry.
Yeah, and then watching them all like cross the bridge at the end.
I
could go on.
God,
all right.
I think, is this our first unanimous winner?
I think it is.
Good pick, Sarah. Jeez.
Thank you.
Good one.
Mm-hmm.
It took me so long too to pick. I was the last of us to like lock in.
It was a good one though. Worked out.
Yeah.
All right, you want to close this up?
All right. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we'd love to hear who you would pick for your best dead friend.
If you could leave us a comment on Instagram or tweet directly at us, tell us who you would have picked, who we should have picked, if we're wrong, if we had any traits that we should have included that we did not, let us know. Both of those are at podcast_BFF. So that's Instagram or Twitter.
And in this time of no physical contact between people who don't live together, you could give us a warm hug by supporting us at Patreon at patreon.com/bestfictionalfriendspodcast. You can also just head to bestfictionalfriendspodcast.com and click on donate.
We got some cool, Sarah, what are some of our benefits for Patreon subscribers?
Ooh, well, you can actually watch us, starting with this episode, talk about this as well. So you get the visuals along with it. You can see our lovely screen recordings.
And me disappearing into various Zoom backgrounds.
Yeah, you can see Casey like lose her arms into her Zoom background. So that's always fun.
Several times.
If you enjoyed this, please tell your friends, real or fictional, to check us out.
And if you have a second, it would be awesome if you could rate and review us on iTunes. It's super helpful.
And we'll be back here to help you rationalize your real-life feelings for fictional friends Wednesday, November 4th.
For Best Fictional Friends, I'm Sarah Freshley.
I'm Casey Goldstein.
And I'm Brittany Weisler. See you next time. All friends welcome. We're all one homunculus, one giant conglomerate of idea people speaking.